Why is it that bigotry against Jews is treated an entirely different way?
He said President Trump is, quote, absolutely keeping his promises.
This is something the left is very scared by.
Men can address the inevitable pushback that will claim this violates free speech.
First of all, there is that idea you can't cry fire in a crowded theater, but also a university has the right to restrict hateful speech on campus that violates the university's policies.
I'm Bronson Woodruff.
Storms spanning much of the south wreaked havoc with high winds and tornadoes. Eben Brown has the latest.
Tornadoes striking places like Ada, Oklahoma, and Irving, Texas, tore up roofs and left hundreds of thousands of people with no power. Even straight-line winds were ferocious.
We were hiding in our bathtub, and our garage door kept opening and closing.
The Hirschberger family lives in Carrollton, Texas, near Dallas.
And the trees were almost at a 90-degree angle to their bases, and you couldn't see anything, but the house was shaking, the garage, all the tiles in the garage were shaking.
Storms cut short Mardi Gras parades in New Orleans. Mississippi reports 2 storm-related deaths.
And the U.S. stock market is holding a bit steadier today. More news online at afn.net and download the AFN mobile app. I'm Rusty P.
President Trump's most important job is going to be the trickiest. It's the area where the president can make the biggest progress, but it's also where he can be misled into catastrophic errors. I'm referring to his nomination of literally hundreds of federal judges, including nominations to the U.S. Supreme Court. The good news is that you can help AFA Action's constitutional experts research nominees and give advice to the president. But to do this analysis, AFA Action needs your help. So please visit afaaction.net to donate today.
Today's Issues continues on AFR with your host, Tim Wildman, president of the American Family Association.
Welcome back, everybody, to Today's Issues on the American Family Radio Network. That's the name of this show, Today's Issues. We got 25 more minutes. We're going to get to Steve's collection of topics and clips, and he's got some more of Donald Trump's greatest hits over here.
I can play as many as you want.
Coming your way.
You've got your own Zelensky letter. You got an apology to make.
Someone said I mistakenly said that Elizabeth Warren, a.k.a. Pocahontas, was the U.S. Senator from Kentucky. Well, people of Kentucky, that's news to them. And they're calling here saying she ain't from our area. And so the people of Connecticut, I call up there and they say, we don't know where she is.
We don't claim her either.
We don't claim her either. Maybe she's from Indian Reservation out west somewhere. You might check with them. No. Elizabeth Warren is a senator from Connecticut, not from Kentucky. Wanted to make that clear. Now, real quick, our tours this year, coming up later this year, are filling up. So if you want to go with us, we got 3 options for the remainder of the year, and I'll just mention them. There's the Washington, D.C. and Mount Vernon trip in June and September. There's the Colonial, Williamsburg, Jamestown, and Yorktown trip. Those are also in June and September. And those 2 tours, Washington and Williamsburg, are back-to-back. So if you want to go with us and see so much history and eat good and have a good time, a vacation for our purpose, and we'll laugh and enjoy each other's company. Those are in June and September. And you can, if you want to stay with us for the whole week, we'll take care of you for the whole week. So that's...
They're back to back, but they're also...
But you don't have to do them both.
You don't have to do them both, but if you did them both in total, you're looking at a week.
Right. Otherwise, they're 4-day trips that you can take a look at. You can go on either one of them. And so go to the website, wildmangroup.com.
That's right, wildmangroup.com.
WILDMON group.com, wildmangroup.com. All the dates, the pricing, the itinerary, everything is there. And then we've got this trip planned for the first time ever. We're going to Boston. Please come to Boston. But we are. We are going.
But not in the springtime.
Not in the springtime. We're going in the fall time.
Mm-hmm.
In October. Because a lot of people like to see, they're going to want to go with us to Boston and the surrounding area and see all the history there. Just stuff your face with lobster after lobster after lobster. That's what we're going to do. And then some people may want to then cruise on up into New England, further into New England, and enjoy the foliage. Because that's what New Hampshire and Vermont and Maine and Fred's he knows all about that, being from those.
Beautiful time of the year.
Yeah.
The mountains up in New Hampshire, that area, it's just gorgeous, gorgeous.
So, now we're not going to the mountains ourselves. We're doing a history tour of the greater Boston area, including the Freedom Trail. That's coming up in October. Again, I think we've got 72 people signed up and got space for like 20 more. So, Stephen McDowell, the Providence Foundation, is going and going to give us all the history, as is Timothy Barton of Wall Builders. He's going with us. Wesley, Walker, Allison, and I'm going, so it's going to be a lot of fun. And the Boston trip, all the information again is at the wildmangroup.com. Steve.
Hey.
So, what did you think of last night?
I did not watch it live. But
Why not?
It was grilling a snake.
I don't want to get into your personal business, but you're a newsman.
I know.
If you don't want to say, if you just want to check the box other right here, go ahead. Other.
No, I was doing some other stuff at home, yeah. But,
Okay, that's all I need to know. Yeah. You could say none of your business.
But I did. No,
Yeah.
okay. I did check in this morning with it, and I thought it was a good speech. I thought he had what was
A
remarkable.
good speech.
Yeah, what was remarkable to me was the Democrats decided not to stand or clap for anything. Almost, I mean, they didn't even clap for a cancer survivor.
Steve, their feelings are hurt.
I know.
And they just can't clap for anything right now. I don't know why they showed up.
Some of them didn't.
Well, you look more ridiculous to me to go and act like, petulant, is that the right word?
Petulant would be one of the words.
Petulant children, then...
The more they do that, the less they can complain, though, about Trump's manners or behavior.
I know. Hey, listen, if Obama or Biden were in, you would expect the Republicans not to clap for his policy, because that's why our Democrats and Republicans disagree. But to not stand and give a proper appreciation to the office of the presidency, as all Republicans and Democrats have done over time, when the president enters the building, hands out his speech and gets ready to talk, and to the mentions of great American stories that aren't political, that he made mention of, they should have clapped there too. If they'd have just done that, they'd have come off as least halfway civil people. Yeah. But anyway, I don't know why were you going to go just to sit there and look like, as I said last hour, you just drank 3 glasses of prune juice? Is that what you wanted to look like? Go ahead, Steve.
Should I go on?
Well, I mean, whatever your next topic is.
Okay. Well, while we were disseminating dissembling the speech from last night, Congress is in session, and there was a hearing in the House Oversight Committee. Sanctuary city mayors are in town to Washington, D.C.
Is that what they call themselves?
Well, that's
like a singing group? The Sanctuary City mayors are in town, ladies and gentlemen.
That's right.
Just one of the questions they were asked directly from Congressman Comer, who's the chair of the committee, said, are you a sanctuary city, yes or no? And one of them, New York City Mayor Adams, he said yes. The rest of them, there's the Denver mayor, the Boston mayor, Wu, Chicago mayor. So there's New York City, Denver, Boston, and Chicago mayors were there. And I want to give you a little bit of the taste. I just have one. This is Michelle Wu. We talked about Michelle Wu yesterday, I believe, because
Boston mayor.
She there was a tragic situation where a cop an off-duty police officer had to kill a man with a knife who was chasing a couple people into a Chick-fil-A, he announced himself as a police officer, and he told a guy to drop the knife. He didn't, and he shot and killed the suspect. And so when Michelle Wu, the Boston mayor, gets on the microphone at a press conference, she says, we want to extend all of our condolences and sympathies to the family of the man who was killed, of the criminal, which kind of got her in a little bit of hot water online. And so this was her today. They're talking about immigration. The Democrats do not like the deportations that are going on, and these mayors all represented their cities as safe and welcoming. This was Mayor Wu when asked about the immigration and the deportations cut 19.
Let's talk about Tom Homan. Shame on him for lying about my city, for having the nerve to insult our police commissioner who has overseen the safest Boston's been in anyone's lifetime. Bring him here under oath, and let's ask him some questions.
So, yeah.
Who's she mad at?
She's mad at Tom Homan.
The
border czar.
Border czar. What's she mad at him for?
Well, because he's facilitating the deportation of all of illegal immigrants.
She has a problem with that?
Yes, she does.
She wants illegal immigrants?
She does. Her city is welcoming.
He's only arresting criminals.
They say he's not, and he said.
I mean violent criminals.
He said himself, if you bring us into the jail and hand over the criminal in jail, we'll take him, we'll deport him, and that's the end of it. But if you release him into the community, which they do, because they don't cooperate with ICE, and ICE has to go track him down. If they go into a house with the criminal and 20 other illegal immigrants that haven't committed a crime other than crossing the border, he'll deport them all.
All right, I want to take a couple minutes here because there may be people listening to us now who go, well, sanctuary city, I've heard that term for a long time, but I'm not as sure as I understand exactly what it means. And of course, the reason we're talking about this is these sanctuary city mayors, these far left, they call themselves progressives. Abe Hamilton calls them regressives. We used to call them flaming liberals. that worked out good.
Sure.
These, huh?
Yep.
These are wackadoodles. Wackadoodle liberals.
All of them? Why?
And I mean that as a term of endearment.
Sure.
So the New York City mayor was there, Eric Adams. Is he going to stop by the White House and thank Trump for pardoning him, keeping him out of prison while he's in town?
I don't know if he's going to do that, but he did get a thanks from Mr. Comer, because he's the only mayor on the panel that has said that he will coordinate with ICE.
Okay, tell us what a sanctuary city is.
Okay, a sanctuary city is a city whose laws, an ordinance has been passed that they welcome illegal immigrants. It's a safe place for illegal immigrants to go. If they come to the city, they'll get all of the city's resources that they can get, and they will not be turned over to the federal government for deportation.
And just to emphasize, they're going to get federal funds and housing and all the benefits.
The city does, right?
The city does. Now, does that from the state or from the government?
Well, the federal would be from the government, and Donald Trump has kind of put that into question. If you're going to do that, you're not going to get federal funds.
Okay.
But
and just to further expound on that, and this is why the Republicans, especially Trump, talk about this ad nauseum, is this reason, this sanctuary city business. If you have a illegal immigrant, let's say in Boston, for example, and they commit a armed robbery, or they break into somebody's house, or they assault a citizen, walking down the street to rob them, or something of that nature, and they're picked up by the local cops. Y'all correct me if I'm wrong here in what I'm saying. Well, the cops, obviously they process the person. They put him in jail. He has a bail or a hearing. I guess they have no cash bail anymore in these big cities. But then, under normal conditions, they would do a check to see who is this person. Well, so the police would the Boston police would say, well, this is Julio Lopez. I'm just making up a name. And maybe he is, if they even know who he is. Maybe he has no proof of citizenship. That's another big deal, right? But we know this guy because he had committed crimes in Cincinnati before he came here, okay? And he's wanted by the feds. He's wanted by ICE because he's an illegal immigrant committing felonies on American soil. And this is where this is what the word sanctuary means in this situation. So the police department in Boston knows who this guy is. He's a bad dude. But and you would normally say, well, at this point they need to call ICE, call the feds, because this is a federal issue and this guy needs to be detained by ICE and or deported. Right? At that point, the Boston police go, you know what? We're not calling ICE. We're not helping the federal government enforce the immigration laws because the immigration laws are immoral.
Therefore, we're sanctuary.
They're wrong. They shouldn't be deporting people because they commit crimes. They shouldn't do it. And so we are going to be a sanctuary to protect these criminals from the federal government. Does that make sense, Fred?
Yeah, that's it, exactly. And
that's insanely correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. All the while, the federal government is sending money to Massachusetts and Boston,
New York,
to help them with their I don't know how much money they sent to help them with their government.
Well, we learned that under the Biden administration, FEMA sent money to New York, over $80 million to house illegal immigrants. FEMA. That's what we're going.
Paying, the taxpayers paying for it.
Yes.
But when it comes to help us enforce the law, the state of New York or Boston say, we're not going to help you face the law, just keep giving us the money.
Well, and the other thing is that these cities are providing education. A lot of these people, they have families.
Illegal immigrants.
Illegal immigrants. Their kids cannot speak English. So think about the stress putting on the public schools.
Right.
They're getting Medicaid from these states. So that's taking health dollars meant for American citizens and giving them to illegal immigrants. Here's the other thing that's happening in sanctuary cities, though. Chicago, we saw it in the last year and a half or so. Chicago residents very upset. Some of their schools have been shut down, and the city is saying, well, we don't have the money. But the same mayor, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, says, but we do have money to give to these illegals.
Now, was Brandon Johnson the mayor of Chicago? Wasn't he there today?
He was.
Yeah.
So these four mayors went to appear before Congress to answer questions?
Yes.
All Democrats.
All right, go ahead. Do you need to play any more clips?
I don't have any more clips from that particular meeting.
What did the mayor of New York, Adams, say? Do you know?
Well, all the mayors said that their cities are safer than they've ever been. I don't know where they're getting their numbers. Gun violence, they said, is down, and these illegal immigrants contribute mightily to the tax base and all this kind of stuff. And they justified in their own minds and to the members of Congress why they are accepting of illegal immigrants in their cities.
They can only say that with great confidence now because we're actually removing them.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
You know, on the other
Trump's
hand,
helping them out by cleaning out these bad guys.
That way they can keep their talking points.
Exactly.
Well, yeah. So the Democrats were all their questions were all geared towards opposing Donald Trump and the deportation of immigrants. Republicans focused on some of the crime that has been reported that immigrants have caused, and some of the tax dollars that are misapplied, as Fred was just talking about. So it as all congressional hearings are these days. There was two sides. They were kind of talking past each other.
Okay, we can move on to the next topic, but I want to say this. What I've been able to observe the last 10 years in particular on this issue, especially when Biden came in just threw open the borders, is you have a fundamental disagreement among progressives or liberals and conservatives, defined politically more as Republicans and Democrats. It's not all Democrats believe this way, and not all Republicans believe that way, but generally speaking, broadly and generally speaking, majority, here's what you got going on here, and this is just playing out in elections and so forth. The Republicans believe in law and order, and they do believe in immigration, because we've had millions of people come into our country under Republican presidents through the legal process of application, qualification,
and they get approved,
and then they have to do a citizenship test. There are some things that they have to do to become. Fred, you know how this works. So it's a system, but it's lawful and it's orderly, and we know who's here. That's what Republicans believe in. Democrats don't believe in borders, because to keep people out of America is immoral. They really believe this.
Yes.
They do have some moral values.
This is important for us to emphasize and to be as clear as what you're saying, is because there is no common ground here. There's no starting point.
No, there's not. No, there's not. Because that's the reason. So the Democrats, they just don't. If you don't believe in law and order, and you believe that borders are racist, and that people should be able to come into America from all over the world unchecked, if that's your belief, then obviously you're going to believe against ICE.
Yeah.
And you're going to call yourself a sanctuary city. So what I'm saying is those are two, and they're pretty open about it. The Democrats and the Republicans on the positions I've just mentioned. Now, the Democrats sometimes will try to caveat everything and say, no, we don't actually believe in money. Well, they may try to hide that, but the net effect of their actions is that they don't believe in borders.
Yes.
Right.
And some have said the reason Democrats feel this way about illegal immigrants is they want the numbers. They believe these illegal immigrants
will vote Democrat. Well, they're right.
That's the thinking on that.
If they can ever get them to be a citizen.
That's right.
Yeah, that would happen.
And they want to make that easy.
Yes, that is absolutely true.
Dreamers, we want to make them citizens.
Yeah. The more illegal immigrants that the Democrats can put on a, quote, pathway to citizenship, then the more votes they're going to lock in for generations.
That's right.
So, all right, next story.
All right. Have you guys ever heard of the term demographic jihad? We talk about jihad, Muslim struggle is what the word means. We talk about terrorism and violence and everything, but there's a concept called demographic jihad, where Muslims will come and get into a community, and then by virtue of birth, by virtue of other friends coming in, they start taking over the city and the community. And it's happening in Europe. A large amount of Muslims in Europe. There's a strong amount of a lot of Muslim mayors in Great Britain, and they can claim towns and cities. They just put up mosques. They have their no fly zone for police. Police aren't allowed to come in and enforce the law because they're enforcing Sharia on their own. And this is where it's gotten to be in England. I'm going to play you a little bit. This is the Muslim community in London is having a Ramadan prayer service in Windsor Castle. Cut 19. Cut 17. It's just a little brief thing, but this is like their White House. This is the King's residence.
Now, what was that we heard?
That was the call to prayer. That was them having their prayer service in the halls of Windsor Castle. And so this is, by hook or by any means necessary, I think is what the Muslim belief is. They're going to take over as much territory as they can. And
so they're proselytizing a little bit.
well, they are proselytizing, although I don't know that they welcome a whole lot of like Anglo-Muslims, but they do claim, because they're having a lot of children, which is, generally a good thing. But and they claim the geographic area as Muslim, as their own.
Well, yeah, it's a problem. In France is 10% Muslim now. I mean, the migration from Africa, north of the Sahara, and then the Middle East, especially among Middle Eastern men who are mostly Islamic, is
they're not migrating to get away from something. They're migrating to achieve a goal.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Steve. Thanks to Wesley and to Fred and to Chris and to Britt Creeley, our producer. Is there anybody else? The MD? Perkins, and we hope you have a great day, and we'll be back here tomorrow, Thursday, for another edition of Today's Issues.
And my father, your great-grandfather, fought in World War II.
Really?
He was a gunner on a big ship out in the Pacific Ocean.
Wow.
Your great-grandmother did her part, too.
Was she on a ship?
Oh, no. She stayed back home. She and a lot of her friends worked really hard in a factory because the men had gone off to war.
Ooh.
And they held scrap metal drives to help in the war effort. The folks back home were heroes, too.
Here at the American Family Association, we consider you the heroes back home. As you fulfill your responsibility of caring for your family day to day, your partnership with us is crucial as we fight the enemies of freedom in America. Thank you for your commitment to the American Family Association.
Grandpa, what's a scrap metal drive?
Let's get some cookies, and I'll tell you all about it.
The words you are about to hear are taken from letters sent in by members of the Trinity Debt Management Program.
Dear Trinity, today I'm making my final credit card payment.
Before I came to you, I was in a constant state of anxiety and panic, but now there is hope for my family's financial future.
Working with Trinity made me understand that I'm not alone.
You really do help people.
Your kindness will never be forgotten. Without Trinity support, I would not have achieved my lifelong goal of becoming debt-free.
We saved a lot on interest and penalties, of course, but the reward was the gift of human kindness.
Trinity has carried me through a very difficult time in my life. You're amazing.
I used to feel so anxious and hopeless. Now I feel grace and peace.
God bless Trinity as you continue to help others become debt-free.
If credit card debt has you down, call Trinity at 1-800-788-1813. That's 1-800-788-1813.
Let's see, if something costs less, a lot less, but people are actually happier with it, that sounds like something to look into. And that's MetaShare. Maybe you've heard joining MetaShare can save you or your family up to $500 a month, and that's huge, but it's also true. People are just happier with it. They love being part of something that reflects and promotes their values and what they believe in. MetaShare works, too. It's been around for 30 years now, and members have shared more than $7 billion of each other's bills. People love having telehealth and a huge nationwide PPO network, so yeah, really, you can save a ton and like it better. Imagine being happy with how you're taking care of your health care, whether you're self-employed or part of the gig economy, or you just want a plan that you're happy with. Here you go. You can call right now and get a price within 2 minutes. A very, very smart use of 2 minutes. Here's the number you need. It's 833-44-BIBLE. That's 833-44-BIBLE. 833-44-BIBLE.
Christians, they're suffering big time in Africa, and they need our help. Hi, this is Michael Woolworth with Bible League International, and Pastor Lumo ministers in Mozambique near the Indian Ocean. He's been beaten and jailed not for what he believes, but for how he lives out his faith. You see, Lumo has been quietly and faithfully sharing the gospel with Muslims, and many have come to Christ in recent months, but extremists here, they have assaulted him, his family, and many in his church. But you know what? They're not asking for an end to the persecution they face. They're praying for Bibles to open and read every day family in order to be able to endure and persevere as new followers of Christ. Hey, give thanks if your pastor hasn't been beaten in jail, but please don't turn a deaf ear to these pleas for Bibles. Instead, help support the church in Africa by sending a Bible to these waiting Christians at only $5 a Bible, or $100 sends 20. Call 800-YES-WORD, 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 or visit sendbiblesnow.org. That's sendbiblesnow.org, and God bless you for caring.
Wherefore King Darius signed the writing and the decree. Now what's going to happen? What's Daniel going to do? He had a custom of praying 3 times a day toward Jerusalem.
Welcome to In Grace with Jim Scudder, the senior pastor of Preston Road Baptist Church in suburban Chicago. He is a strong advocate of the nation of Israel and leads annual tours to the Holy Land.
Dare to be like Daniel. Today we're going to see what Daniel was really made of. As he was at the end of his life, or near the end of his life, he was about to go into the den of lions. He did right. He did right at the beginning of his life when he was a teen. In his middle-aged years, he did right all the way through to this lion's den experience. And I doubt any of us will be facing lions, real lions, Detroit Lions maybe, but not the real lions. But would we do what Daniel did? Would we continue our habit of prayer? And even though it meant this terrible thing. Now, God made it an amazing experience, as we're going to be talking about today. But think about that. What would we do if faced with a similar situation? We are really, really excited because In Grace is coming to 2 cities coming up. On Saturday, we're going to be in the Milwaukee area, and in April, we're going to be in the Dallas area. We would love for you to come to one of our Gather In Grace events. I'll be speaking about Israel and the end times, and it'll just be a wonderful, wonderful day. To get ticket information, go to ingraceradio.com or give us a call at 1-800-78-GRACE. For those of you that are coming through the Chicago area or you live in Chicago, come out and visit us at Preston Road Baptist Church in Lake Zurich, Illinois on Sundays at 11 o'clock. I would love to meet you there as well. And then we also communicate over social media. So if you want to find out exactly what's going on as it happens, I would ask that you would follow me on Facebook, X, or Instagram at Jim Scudder Jr. Have you ever found yourself facing a lion? I hope not. I mean, not at least without bars or thick plexiglass between you and the lion. There were 2 men running down the street of a town, screaming, "Run, run, a lion has escaped, a lion has escaped." And a startled passerby stops and says, "Which way did he go?" He goes, "Are you a fool? Do you think we're chasing the lion?" So run if you see a lion. Don't go the same way as the lion. Well, we're going to find today that a man of God had an intersection with not just a lion, but a whole den of lions. And what a story of faith, a story that we teach our children early on, a story of a man that was cast into the den of lions. And we love this story of Daniel. He is older. This is near the end of his life. And in these first 6 chapters, we're reading about this amazing young man who was taken as a teenager out of his homeland. His city, his land was now occupied and destroyed. And it was just a horrible thing to go through, him and his friends. But there were 4 of them that made good and godly decisions, even in the midst of terrible trials, even in the midst of terrible circumstances. And that tells me something, that no matter how old you are, so we have a lot of young people in the room, and we have middle-aged folks. I think I'm in that category. I'm in the middle of my life, somewhere in the middle. No, you're like, no, you're definitely heading fast down the hill. If I live to be 100, I'm right there and a half. Okay, so I don't know if I want to live to be 100. Have you seen? No, anyways, maybe it all depends. It all depends. Art Werheim, remember how sharp he was, the founder of Awana clubs? He passed away when he was 99. He was starting to say, all my friends have died, and they're probably wondering if I was even saved in the first place. So, but he was sharp and he did well. So if that's the case, I'll take 100, but probably rather not. Anyways, Daniel in his old age was godly and made good choices and good decisions, even if it was going to cost him. And I don't know what you would do if you were facing this lion. The lion isn't the den of lions. The lion is, am I going to compromise my convictions, what I do, my spiritual habits, because of some person and what somebody has said? Or I'm going to do what is right because I know this is what God wants of me. Are you going to obey God rather than man? That's the question. And you know what's interesting is it actually comes down to this a lot in life. It might not be some big, huge, epic story of, an old man being thrown into the lion's den. It might just be a choice you have to make today about a business decision, or the way that you're going to react to somebody, or the way that you're going to be tempted to do something that the Bible has said is wrong. What are you going to do in those situations? I hope that you will be a person of faith like Daniel. When you face that lion, that you'll make the right decision and do the right thing. And we actually have no excuse today, right? The Bible says that when you receive by faith Jesus, the Son of God who died on a cross and rose again, when we trust in him, we have the Spirit of God indwelling us. So we have something that Daniel didn't necessarily have. Now we see the Spirit of God helping people in the Old Testament, but they didn't indwell every believer in the Old Testament. And that's something that we have today. We have the Spirit of God in us. So when we're facing those lions, I hope we can keep that in mind and remember that. So let's look at Daniel chapter 6 today as we open up God's holy word and we talk about this incredible book, Deciphering Daniel. Remember, Daniel is both prophetic and practical. And now, I know all of you love prophecy. The reason I know that is because this is a very popular series, and so was our study of Revelation. Very popular series. All of you are very interested in this. Why? Because it's astounding to us that the future can be told to us, and it's accurate. And the Bible does that time and time and time again. Now it gets pushed aside by modern so-called scholars, and they actually criticize the Bible. But the Bible is the only book I know that has prophecies, and about 2/3 of the Bible's prophecies have been fulfilled already. Perfectly, exactly. So what does that mean about the third that's left to be fulfilled? I have great trust in this, that everything the Bible predicts will happen exactly as predicted. So it's a great book of prophecy, but it's also a great book of practical living. We see the 3 young men that refused to bow down to the statue, and they were thrown into a burning fiery furnace. Very similar situation. Now this is Daniel's turn, right, to face such a dilemma. So we're going to talk about facing the lions in Daniel 6 today. And we're going to first see that Daniel was promoted again. We see this over and over in Daniel's life. In Daniel 6, verse 1, it pleased Darius. We're going to come back to this guy. Okay, so remember him. To set over the kingdom 120 princes, which should be over the whole kingdom. This is a new ruler. This is a new, not just a new king, but this is a new kingdom. A new empire is now in place that has overtaken Babylon. Remember the last time we went through Daniel? In Daniel 5, the writing was on the wall. And God had predicted, this is your last night of your life, and this is the last night of the Babylonian Empire. And so now we have Darius, we have 120 princes. These are satraps, these are people that would be administrators in the kingdom, people that would make everything work, and they would be over the whole kingdom. In verse 2, over these 3 presidents. So not only did they have the 120 administrators, they had 3 people that would govern those 120. And these 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was first. Does that surprise you? Daniel would always rise to the top in whatever kingdom he served, or whatever king he served. This was true in Babylon, under Nebuchadnezzar, and under other rulers that were there, he always rose to the top. Why? Because he was being used of God. And you know what? You think, well, I could never be a Daniel. No, you're wrong. You can be a Daniel or Danielle. You can be a person that is used of God today, just as powerful as Daniel. God wants to do that. He can do that in your life.
Does end times prophecy leave you feeling confused? Are you searching for tools to help you understand it? Call 800-78-GRACE today to receive your stunning Deciphering Daniel Prophecy Chart, completely free. This educational chart vividly outlines the timeline of end times events and is designed to complement Jim Scudder's Deciphering Daniel audio series. When you give a gift of $35 or more, you'll receive the entire 26-part Deciphering Daniel audio series, diving deeper into the remarkable prophecies of Daniel. As a bonus, you'll also get the book, The Coming World Leader, a timely resource exploring the rise of the Antichrist. For gifts of $100 or more, you'll receive the Armageddon's Dawn video series, filmed in Israel, detailing end times events in Revelation, and the quest to rebuild the Jewish temple video series, a fascinating exploration of one of the most crucial elements of end times prophecy, the third temple. To complete your end times collection, we'll include the book End of Time, expanding your understanding of Bible prophecy even further. Don't miss this incredible offer. Call 800-78-GRACE or visit ingraceradio.com today.
The book of Daniel has been under fire by liberals and critics. And I'm going to read you what Wikipedia says about the book of Daniel. The book of Daniel is not regarded by scholars as a reliable guide to history. The broad consensus is that Daniel is not a historical figure. There is broad agreement that the stories making up chapters 1 through 6 are legendary in character, and that the visions of chapter 7 through 12 were added during the persecution of Antiochus, the book itself being completed soon after 164 BC. But this book was completed well before that in the life of Daniel. Daniel 5 and Daniel 6. So 5 was the writing on the wall. 6 is what we're studying today, Daniel in the lion's den, belong to the folk tales making up the first half of the book. Daniel 6, Daniel in the lion's den, is based on a classic Babylonian folk tale. So in other words, Daniel copied this story from an existing legend. In the Babylonian original, the pit of lions is a metaphor for human adversaries at court, but the biblical tale has turned the metaphorical lions into real animals. Okay, so is Wikipedia right, or is the Bible right? Okay, obviously Wikipedia is a collection of what people say, okay, and they have footnotes and all of that stuff. But here, let me tell you this. There's many proofs that Daniel wrote this book at the time that Daniel said it was written. There's many proofs. This book is full of accuracies. Okay, if they say the Bible is full of errors, here's what you need to tell that person. Would you show me one? Okay, people hear the book is full of errors, the Bible is full of errors, but they hardly can ever. I've never had anyone be able to show me one. And as I studied it my whole life, this is all that I do. I just study this book, and I actually get to talk with a lot of incredibly brilliant people, well-schooled with PhDs, incredibly brilliant people that say, no, this book actually does fit. It does fit scientifically. It's not a book of science, but it has things in it that we didn't even know about until modern science told us. It already had that in there. It had the circle of the earth. It had the hydrologic cycle of clouds and rain and rivers and oceans. It has all of that in there before we could have ever known these things. The complexity of nature and of creation. It's all in the Bible, and it all fits and it all works. And then there's prophecy, like what we've just discussed, that all of these things have come to pass, that the Jews were dispersed and they've come back. That's profound. It's incredible. And that happened in some of your lifetimes. If you're alive in 1948, you witnessed a true miracle of God. And these things are going to continue to happen because God said they will. God said they will. The Bible is accurate 100% of the time. Every time I research something archaeologically, for instance, we're going to Israel, we're going to do some more shows on archaeology. They said that Pontius Pilate didn't exist because the Bible said he didn't, but they had never found him outside of the Bible. They've never dug up anything that said Pontius Pilate, so they said the Bible's wrong. And then they find an inscription in Caesarea of Pontius Pilate. They said the pool of Bethesda didn't exist in Jerusalem. And how could it have 5 porches, 5 porticos? And so they start to dig in Jerusalem, and they find, guess what? A pool with 5 porticos, because on all 4 sides there was portico, and then in the middle there was a portico. They criticize the Bible, but who's wrong? The Bible or the archaeologists, the critics? It is not the Bible. So, folks, if Wikipedia says one thing, or if there was a folklore, a Babylonian folklore, that there was these people, the adversaries, and they were metaphorically the lions. And maybe God says, hey, let me show you the real thing, okay? I'm 100% going with the Bible on this and on other things. And if there are some seeming discrepancies, so here's another one. Who's Darius? If you research and look at the extra biblical archaeological data, they can't find this Darius the Mede. There's another Darius later that's well known in history, but this Darius, the first ruler of the new empire, the Medes and the Persians, we can't find him in extra biblical archaeology. So what do we say? Well, the Bible has to be wrong. That's immediately what the critics say. The Bible has to be wrong. Remember, we talked about this last time, right? With Belshazzar. There was no such person as Belshazzar. They criticized the Bible about it. Now they know there was such a person as Belshazzar. They found the evidence, extra biblical evidence. So here's what I suggest that the critics do. Keep looking. Keep looking, because it's there. And I believe one day this mystery of Darius the Mede will be easily unraveled. But let me give you a couple illustrations of what it could be. So we know Cyrus was a ruler in early Medo-Persia. Cyrus the Great, well known. And actually, he's mentioned at the end of this chapter. So some people say, well, Darius was his Babylonian name for Cyrus. And I talked to an archaeologist yesterday, and he says that's what he thinks. And some people say it was a co-regent. And that happened all the time. These were big empires. They could have come to power, Medes and Persians, and so there could have been a co-regent, a ruler. Either way, the Bible describes this man, Darius the Mede. He's an older man. I think it says he came to power in the last chapter, at the very end of 5. It said he was about 62 years old. So he's 62 years old, so he's older. And we also know that he reigned only a couple of years. So what's the mystery? Well, I know that the Bible is right.